The Peach Bowl was played as part of what I thought, Bump, was like the best semifinals ever.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Both games were absolutely phenomenal. But this one in particular was interesting to Seahawks fans who, thanks to the Denver Broncos' ineptitude, are looking at potentially the number 2 overall pick. It could be number 3, depending on how the Bears do. Either way, that gives you a shot at one of the best edge rushers or a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Peach Bowl featured 2 names that are going to be, in all likelihood, in the top 5 picks, some potentially as high as the top 3. CJ Stroud, quarterback for Ohio State. And then on Georgia's side, you have Jalen Carter, who, outside of Will Anderson, will be one of the top 2 edge rushers drafted. Now, we know that defense is a huge need for Seattle. We know that they haven't had an elite offensive lineman really in years.
Yeah.
Right? The last great edge rusher they drafted was maybe Frank Clark, 14 sacks for them in a career high, and hasn't really had that production since with Kansas City. They haven't had a shot at someone like this ever. And they're finally going to get it. But on the other side of things, and I've been set on Jalen Carter, you had CJ Stroud, who even in a losing effort was phenomenal. So, Bump, what do you do?
Me personally, I look at CJ Stroud and what he did, 23 of 34, 348, 4 touchdowns. And I think, man, that was fun to watch. Mm-hmm. Had a big 27-yard gain and put them in field goal range on using his feet. And you saw the competitor and the accuracy. I also got to give Stetson Bennett some love. I don't think he was a Heisman candidate type of quarterback, but when it was time to win, he did exactly that, and his numbers are comparable to C.J. Stroud. He was 23 or 34, same, for 398, 3 touchdowns, but 1 interception. But back to C.J., I look at him and I go, I understand why the Hawks would take a strong look, if not even draft this young man. But me personally, I'm still like, go get some Hogs. Go get some big boys, because I feel like there are a couple of quarterbacks late that are going to be should be available later in the draft, that if you want to bring somebody in, go ahead and do that. And it's Richardson from Florida and then Hooker from Tennessee. There's no rush for Hooker to play. He's coming off a knee injury. Maybe he can sit and develop. I just think that you could win with Geno. And last week, people were off the Geno train. He's an average quarterback. Average quarterbacks don't go to the Pro Bowl and be 4th in the NFL when it comes to touchdowns. I understand your concerns. You've only seen it for 1 season. So you're like, how do we know this is going to work out? How do you know it's not going to work out?
Right.
So that's why with me, I go, how can you support Geno at this point? I think that he's done enough to say, look, let's support him and give him all the tools necessary to allow him to try to make a run at this thing. And I think it starts with that defensive line. So me personally, I understand it. If they were to go CJ and draft him, I would not stand up and boo and say, what are you guys doing? I'm probably working the draft anyway, so I'm definitely not going to boo. You know, I'm going to be employed that day.
Yeah, you're going to be, the Seahawks are going to be like, sir, we're paying you.
Yeah, excuse me? Clap.
Sir.
But I would understand it because of the performance that we saw. And because Bryce is going to be gone early, honestly.
He's going to be number 1 overall to Houston.
He's gone.
But then if you're looking at number 2, you can have either of these guys. And again, I am like on the Geno has done enough for you, and this defense is pretty abysmal. And adding to your defensive line, especially when you haven't had elite defensive linemen, is your biggest need, right? Like, it is so hard for me to understand that the impact a quarterback can have on a game is outsized and a bigger impact than any other player. It is, I understand that, but also it is hard for me to reconcile thinking, you know, hey, maybe they should take a shot at CJ Stroud, and also looking at how this defense has been, not just this year, but last year and the year before. Like, you have been 31st against one phase of the offense. You've been like 31st against the run this year defensively, 31st against the pass last year, 31st against the pass the year before that.